what have I done? What have I accomplished? What are my credentials? We're trained to look at that, but not to see who we are as individuals. Hello, and it's so nice of you to join me on this bright and sunny afternoon for lunch. It's a late lunch for me. And if you've been following me for a while, you would know that I spent my early career in academia. I went through 3 college degrees onto a PhD. And with each step, for me, the only decision was that, well, it seems like the next logical step, right? Out of high school, I did my bachelor's degree, finished my bachelor's degree, and all I heard was that, oh, bachelor's degrees are a dime a dozen, so you got to do a master's degree, right? So I did my master's degree, traveled to Edinburgh for that, and then after my master's degree, it was like, what do I do next? I still didn't know how to decide for myself which career I wanted to go and which direction I wanted to do in my future. I actually didn't know what I wanted. And so a great way to delay that decision, to procrastinate that decision, is go to more schooling. And for me, the logical step was to do a PhD. And so that's what carried me through from step by step. But by the time I got to my PhD, that's when I started to realize that the formal education has a lot of gaps in it. While the formal education is excellent for teaching you subject matter knowledge, whatever you major in. For me, it was neuroscience, right? The public education system, the formal education system is completely designed to equip you with all the knowledge on that subject area. And of course, to design a very structured curriculum around that. And so, since graduating, and it's been a long time ago, I really enjoy talking about topics related to education and academia and learning as well. So today what I wanted to share with you was, what are the things that you don't learn in academia, which you don't learn in school, that are actually hurting your future? So the first thing that schools don't teach you that's hurting your future is how to answer the most important question, and that is, who am I? It might sound like a very elusive question or a very vague question, but it's a really important question you want to answer that will help you in your professional future. And the reason why is because your career is not just about what you do. It's not just a transaction where you get paid. Of course, it's important to get paid for it. But if that's all a career was for you, you wouldn't be fulfilled in it. Right? So your career is actually the greatest form of expression of who you are and the impact you want to have in this world. So in order for you to have clarity on what that career direction is, you got to be able to answer, who am I? And when I ask a lot of academics, especially the more intellectual they are or the more trained they are in that formal system, when I ask them, well, who are you? Most of the time, I always get an answer that relates to their job title, their educational background, what degrees or credentials they have, and that's what they tell me when I ask them, well, who are you? And that's the thing, we're trained to answer that way. We're trained to look at, what have I done? What have I accomplished? What are my credentials? We're trained to look at that, but not to see who we are as individuals, what's important to us, what we value in life. Right? So the life that you want, the future that you desire, is going to be fueled by the career that you build. So that's why it's essential for you to be able to answer the question, who am I? And not from the standpoint about what you do. Because what you do is not who you are. It's not tied to your identity. Outside of work, outside of what you do, you still are your own person. So what is it? At the end of the day, when no one's looking, who are you as a person? So important lesson number 2 that the schools don't teach you is how to develop an understanding of the realities of the marketplace. So, like it or not, regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of what background you have, when you're working for a company or even for yourself, if you start a business, you are a part of a marketplace. So what is that marketplace that you serve? And the marketplace is a location that is made up of people that are your clients or the people that you serve. Even if you're working for someone, you still serve people, right? Your job role, your job title, the product or services that the company you're working for provides does serve an audience in the marketplace. So having a realistic view of the marketplace will help you to get paid your worth. And here's why. Because when you are paid your worth, that means that you are adding value to the marketplace. So what is that value that you're adding? And understanding the marketplace also means you're understanding the flow of money. The marketplace is what's paying you. And I understand your paycheck might come from the company, but the company is adding value to the marketplace, and what you are adding value to in the company on the grand scheme of things is contributing to that marketplace. So it's very crucial that you develop an understanding of the realities of that marketplace if you want to know how to add more value so that you can get paid your worth. Important lesson number 3 that the schools don't teach you is how to think about second-order consequences. Now, you all know what consequences are, right? The consequences are what happens if you don't do something, or what happens if you make a decision. There are consequences. Consequences could be positive or negative, but no matter what, there are consequences to any decision, or indecision, there are consequences to that. Now, there's a difference between a first order and a second order consequence. First order consequences are what people usually think of. What happens if I don't do this? Or what happens if I make this decision? Immediately what happens is the first order consequence. The second order consequences come after that. So what happens right after that is your first order, and then what happens after that is your second order consequence. So why is it important to understand second order consequences? Because it forces you to think longer term, right? You're in this for the long term. Your career is not a short-term thing, right? You want to build a legacy, you want to have significance in your life. You want to build fulfillment, and the only way to do that is to think longer term. So second order consequences allow you to make decisions. When you understand second order consequences, that's what allows you to make decisions that align with who you are and align with decisions that you are okay with the drawbacks and the benefits as well. So when you understand that for yourself and how to think about that, then you're able to make decisions that make sense even in the long run. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people who've been working in the same industry for maybe like 5, 10, or 15 years, and then they wake up one morning and they say to themselves, I don't know how I got here, but somehow I ended up on this career path and it doesn't make sense to me. I don't see myself continuing. Right? So the reason why people make career decisions and later on find out they don't make sense anymore is because they don't know how to think about second order consequences of their decisions. So what have you learned? And are you interested in learning how you can apply these principles that I'm about to show you? There are 7 of them. I've covered 3 so far. If you're interested in learning how to apply these principles to your career so that you can become a better version of yourself and work towards fulfillment and leaving a legacy, then I have a special training for you, right? And if you're interested in that training, then just go to careerrevisionist.com/masterclass. I'll put that link below. In the show notes, it's careerrevisionist.com/masterclass. Go there, sign up, and I'll show you how you can apply these in your career. Important lesson number 4 is how to turn skills into an income. You are hired for your skills, right? You're also hired for your work ethic. You're also hired for your potential and how you can add value to the company. If you're starting your own business, then it's more important that you're selling your skills that add value to the marketplace, and they're buying the value that you want to add. So most people don't understand how to turn their skills into an income. At the end of the day, skills is what gives you the income. The greater your skills are, the more valuable your skills are, the more income you can command for it. And the reason why is because the skill set that you have, especially if you stack skills on top of another, if you have 2 or more or 3 to 5 skills, that when you combine them, it makes you unique in the marketplace. When you sell that in the marketplace, the better your skills are, the more honed your skills are, or the more that the creative ways you find to combine your skill sets, the more value you can add into the marketplace. And that is what generates income. That is how you generate wealth. Because the marketplace is going to be voting with their wallets. They're going to want what you have. And companies are looking for talent like that. Companies are looking for skill sets that are unique, that can add value, and that could render you unique. And your unique selling proposition is made up of your skills. So that's why it's so important to understand how to translate your particular skills or your skill set into income for you. Important lesson number 5 that the schools don't teach you is how to learn outside the classroom. Right? Trust me, I've been 10 years inside of the classroom. Even when I started coaching in careers, I started in the classroom. Right? I booked a classroom in my alma mater in my university, and I would, put flyers and brochures all over the campuses, and students would come, and I would teach and I would coach. Right? So it was hard for me to get outside the classroom. But here's the thing. All the learning that happens inside of the classroom is still within the curriculum and within your subject matter. Everything, all the skills that you want to learn about life, about the marketplace, about how to navigate your career, how to navigate your life is learned outside of the classroom. It's really important that you learn and that you adapt that as well, because all the things that you can learn outside of the classroom are things that are going to be important for your personal and professional development. And learning styles outside the classroom is going to be very different from inside of the classroom. If that's what you're accustomed to, unfortunately, the two don't translate. The way you've been learning in the classroom is all about test taking, right? We learn in the classroom to prepare us for the final exam, right? And we have structures around what you need to have on the final exam, what grade points you need to pass for the final exam. They teach you what you need to know, they teach you what you need to learn, and there's only one way of learning. The way of learning is to read the textbook or to attend classes, to follow that curriculum and to pass the exam. That style of learning does not translate outside the classroom. So it's really important for you to learn how to learn outside the classroom in order to be successful in your career. Important lesson number 6 is how to organize your knowledge. In college, we are given a lot of knowledge, right? You're given knowledge to our various classes, knowledge specific to a subject matter. But the thing is, accumulation of knowledge does not translate to income. It does not translate to a career. In order for knowledge to be useful and applied, you need to be able to organize that knowledge, package it into wisdom, and then you can sell it to the marketplace. So organizing that knowledge is really important for you to accelerate your career and for you to be able to paint your professional destiny. Because only in organizing your knowledge can that be translated into something useful. Knowledge itself is great, but the purpose of learning is not to accumulate more knowledge. The purpose of learning is actually for mastery. When you've truly mastered something, that is when you can learn what you need to learn in order to be able to implement it into the real world. Learning knowledge in college, and I know this because 10 years in college, I learned what I learned in college, and it made sense within the boundaries of college. But when you take it outside in the real world, there's a lot of risk out there because the real world is so different with outside the classroom. And so when you're taking risk in putting your knowledge out into the real world and failing and learning as well, that's why it's so important to be able to package the knowledge in a way that makes it applicable in real life applications. And finally, important lesson number 7 that the schools don't teach you that could be hurting your future is how to manage yourself. Self-management. A lot of times our emotions create a perception that a problem or an issue is a lot bigger than it is. And that can be very paralyzing. Or that could lead us to make decisions that aren't quite sound or don't quite make sense in the future. So learning how to self-manage means learning how to keep your emotions in check and being able to examine why those emotions are showing up and to decide not from a place of emotional place, but also from having logic invested into that and having a thought process invested into that. So you're not driven purely by emotion. Emotion is the first thing that will show up, but when you are self-managing, it means that you become a better leader as well. So that is the 7th lesson, is learning how to self-manage, not necessarily controlling your emotions, but understanding from a place of self-awareness why those emotions are coming up and how that can apply in terms of making decisions as a leader that makes sense to you and your professional future. So those are the 7 important lessons that the schools aren't teaching you that could be hurting your professional future. Now I want to hear from you. What have you learned? What was your favorite one? Just comment below with which one resonated the most with you. At the same time, I invite you, if you liked what you heard, to give me a thumbs up and remember to ring the bell below to subscribe to my channel so that you can receive notifications each time I upload a new video. So I'll end there at that. My lunch has arrived and it's getting cold, so I look forward to hanging out with you in my next video.